The name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Wham! Kazap! First try. Why so serious?
He's a fast killer.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
I'm freaking pumped. I've been drinking green tea all goddamn day.
I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this.
Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Good Day for a Movie podcast. We are brought to you by GD4GD, so head on over to GD4GD.com and buy some dope gear because $10 of every sale gets donated to their nonprofit partner, which is currently the Matthews House. They're a nonprofit that empowers youth and families by building trusting relationships. Their Strengthening Families program takes a holistic approach in helping at-risk families achieve stability. This helps disrupt the cycles of poverty and abuse. So, like I said, head on over to GD4GD.com and buy some awesome gear. I'm your host, Jacob. Alongside me, as always, Tate.
What's up?
And our anonymous third co-host.
Hello.
So I have a weird thought today.
Hit us.
So on my way over here, I went to a drive-thru, and it didn't actually happen to me this time. But you know the drive-thrus that you go through, like maybe it's kind of late at night, or like you're in a small town, and they only have one window open, okay?
Yep.
And you pay. But as you pay, they hand you the drink at the same time. Like I was like, how do we just like agree to this? That like, yeah, I'm gonna pay. Like, there's money on this card, and I'm not just getting a drink for free. Crazy. That's just crazy. The fast food people to do. Is it not?
I don't know.
It's crazy. Like, that's just like a crazy like social agreement that we've just agreed upon without anybody ever saying.
Well, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna drive away with the drink and give them your card?
I'm not. But like, what if it's just like a fake like prepaid card, and you just go get a free drink?
Yeah, you know.
I mean, like, that's stealing, and they have your license plate, but
yeah, and it is like probably 20 cents.
And here's the other thing,
for
like
a soda.
Like, what if your card was to get declined and you didn't have any other form of payment, and then you just have this drink in your car, and they're like, your card's declined. You scrummage through your wallet, and you're like, oh, I don't have any money.
And you drive away.
You have to just, like, sadly hand the drink back. That's
Guys,
like
I think we need to start.
thought.
I think we need to start robbing some fast foods for some sodas.
I think there's only one thing to do with this conversation, and that's...
You guys really aren't feeling me?
No,
You're not
really.
feeling me.
No.
Think about how awkward it would be if your card got declined and, like, all you brought was your card.
Would you
and
give
like,
the soda
no cash.
back?
I know, like, that would be so awkward. Like, let's just remove that possibility of that awkward situation from ever happening by just getting the card back before you get any drink or food.
What if it was the opposite? What if you pay and then they're like, and they ran your card, and then they're just like, oh, we're all out of food.
Yeah, I mean, that's also a horrible situation to get into. There's just so many problems with this system that we've all just agreed upon without even knowing it.
I am more interested in knowing what Tate's pick's going to be. So,
Sage has been...
Julie, do the thing.
Sage has been very eager.
I'm done.
Very eager to get his movie choice.
I've waited so long. We need to get moving. Get the picks going.
I think I'm going to pick a 4-hour musical for you.
Beautiful.
Kill me. Holy cow.
No, I got a good one for you guys. You guys ready?
Yes.
I hope it's a movie neither of you have seen. Don't think you've seen it. It's a Jim Carrey movie. It's called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Never seen it, but I've wanted to see it.
It's I saw it because we were I'm on Netflix the other day scrolling through stuff and to find one of these movies, and I saw it, and backstage I was off screen, off mic. I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say. On my own time, I was looking it up, and it looks really fucking good. So it's a 2004 film. It's got a pretty stacked cast with Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet, Kristen Dunst, Mark Ruffalo, Elijah Wood.
Dunst.
Yeah, it's Kirsten, not Kristen.
Wow, dude, I actually think I'm dyslexic sometimes.
Loser.
And
God.
it's a sci-fi kind of rom. I don't know if it's a rom-com or anything, but it's just I don't really know that much about it other than this little synopsis where it says that the Jim Carrey's character, who's heartbroken that his girlfriend underwent a procedure to erase him from her memory, decides to do the same. However, as he watches his memories of her fade away, he realizes that he still loves her and it may be too late to correct his mistake. So, a little bit of a sci-fi film, rom-drom. We'll see what it's all about. It's on Netflix. It's an hour and 48 minutes long. And It's directed by Michel Gondry, which I looked up his movies and I haven't seen a single one other than The Green Hornet or whatever that Seth Rogen.
Oh, that was okay.
Yeah, it was all right. But
all right. I mean,
right.
I've heard about I've heard this movie before, and Jim Carrey's great. So
Jim Carrey's so
Jim
good.
Carrey before he went crazy.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, we'll see you on the other side.
I'm Clementine, by the way.
I'm Joel.
Hi, Joel. No jokes about my name. You like?
You look like a tangerine.
I want to be a great, big, huge elephant.
You're trying to figure out, did I have sex with someone tonight?
Isn't that how you get people to like you?
Here at Lacuna, we have a safe technique for the focused erasure of troubling memories.
Is there any risk of brain damage?
Technically, the procedure is brain damage, but it's on a par with a night of heavy drinking. Nothing you'll miss.
My head already hurting.
That baby's history.
It's all being wiped away. They're erasing you, Clem. You'll be gone by morning.
Whoa, careful.
Come on, step back.
Roach the guy.
I loved you on this day. Please let me keep this memory.
The eraser guys are coming here. Wake yourself up.
Well, that's working like gangbusters.
I do somewhere deeper.
Can you hear me? I don't want this anymore. I want to call it off. He's up in that. Seem to have lost him for a moment.
Oh, dear.
Mommy, this is sort of warped.
Holy shit. That movie was deep. My head kind of hurts.
Yes,
from
yeah, big
watching
time.
that.
I mean, when I don't know what we were in, like 15 minutes in, 20 minutes in, and we looked at each other, and I think you said you said head hurt or something.
Hurty. I was trying to think of the Rick and Morty.
it's head hurty.
Ugh, brain hurty.
Yeah, this movie really, I mean, right from the beginning, within like the first 15 minutes, it really just gets into a confusing territory. And like, all like the cuts that it starts taking, like from right from the beginning, you think you're following it because it's him and the girl that started out. Initially I thought that this movie was going to be about this Naomi girl that we don't know anything about. Like I thought we were going to find out that she's the one that got her mind wiped of him. But then when it cuts to Elijah Wood, and then everything from there starts getting so confusing for me. But this movie was, I'm still tossing and turning about what I think about it. But I think my initial reactions are, I really enjoy how it's deep on a lot of levels, and I think it takes a lot of time to think it through. So I'm hoping that we cover a lot of that now. But what are your guys' thoughts? Initial.
When did you get it?
I got it when she came home drunk and he went to go get her and he saw the scratch on the car.
His car being
from
wrecked.
the fire.
See, I did not.
Because I was like, oh, well, he thought that the car next bit is the exact same scrape. So I figured,
I didn't pick up on that initial car scrape scene. I thought I must have been looking at my phone or something because I thought the other car was just parked super close next to him. And so I was like, okay, I don't understand. And then when that scene came back around, I got it. But when I actually full on got it was when they first met originally. That's when everything clicked in my head. I was like, oh, so that first initial encounter that we saw was actually the second meeting.
Wait, you mean?
So he's talking about when they were at the beach party. And
yeah.
he
When they were at the beach party is the first time they met.
Yeah.
When they were on the bus on the crazy train.
The crazy train.
Because she's crazy.
Okay. Wait, maybe I missed that because there's a couple points in the movie where I was like looking up. There's a couple times I looked up the poems that they referenced, mostly because it said the name of the movie and it is why I looked it up. And there's another time that I was just writing things down. So, and I remember that beach scene though, but there I might have missed something. How did that click for you?
Well, so they mentioned that was the first time they met. I think Jim Carrey, like as the narrator, came in and said like, "This is the first time we met" or something.
Yeah,
along those lines.
Yep.
And they're like, okay, well, this is the end. Like, this is the last thing we have together.
It was kind of random, like in the middle of the movie.
So you mean they said that right before they start going into that beach house and
yeah, that's when I picked it up.
Yeah.
But they do say so. He said that right before, like when they're sitting on the steps and she was eating the chicken wing or whatever.
Before he got before they were unloading stuff from the car. Is the second time it was brought up. The first time it was brought up was like midway through the movie, like you're talking about.
It was totally random.
And I didn't pick up on it. Then I was like, wait, there's something going on here. And that's kind of what got my antennas perched up and was like, there's definitely something going on. And then this, like that second time when we see the entire initial meeting is when
of them on
the
steps.
Of them on the steps.
At the beach.
Yep, at the beach. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, so that train, they're going to meet again somehow and fall back in love. And then that beginning of the movie was actually the end.
Yeah, it was post brain wipe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that all clicked for me when he, when he wakes up initially from the brainwash and he looks over to his window and it shows that thing hanging by the window. I was like, that was the first scene of the movie. Or that was the first shot from this movie. And then it shows him in his pajamas getting out of bed. And I was like, that was the beginning of this movie. And so right then I was kind of like, okay, are they about to do a loop thing? And then, of course, when he goes up to his car, I was like, oh, this is a loop thing. But it didn't click for me until then. And maybe it was because I was writing things down. But I just didn't, none of that clicked for me up until that moment of the movie.
Yeah, and right when it clicked for me, I turned over to you and I said, you get it? You're like, get what? I'm like,
I thought you were asking me about that because I was reading the poem, the Eternal Sunshine poem, and I was like reading it line by line and everything, and I was like, what is this poem about? And how's it? And I wanted to like dive into it right then and there. And then you're like, oh, you get it. And I was like, oh, Jacob just saw that I was like reading the poem, and that maybe because I'm reading the poem now I get the movie. I had no idea what you were talking about.
Nope, I meant like, do you understand the ending?
Yep, didn't at that point.
But my initial thoughts, 5 minutes into this post review, is I think I enjoyed the movie. I think I need to talk some things out, but I have no idea where I'm going to land on a score yet. It's definitely a good movie. I think it made you think. It was also, I liked the message of it about kind of what love is. I think is like one of the main takeaway messages at the end there.
I think that's one thing that we definitely need to get into because that's the entire point of this film is for people to talk about what the message of it is.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get back to that later on. But what are some other things that you enjoyed?
I really liked it. My
surprise
biggest problem with it was that it was too artsy. After you say surprise, it was too artsy, but I thought it was really good. Yeah. And it was good to see. I actually don't think I've seen Jim Carrey in a serious role. Even I've seen him in movies where it's like kind of serious, but he still does this crazy
like his kid self.
Yeah, his Grinch.
I've seen that. That was the
Grinch.
Jim Carrey that I've seen is when he was a kid under the table.
That was the closest I saw to the Jim Carrey I know.
Yeah,
but even then, it was him acting like a kid, not him being the masked Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen very many movies, I don't think, with Kate Winslet, but I also almost feel the same with her because I have never seen Jim Carrey in a movie that he is almost sad and depressed and quiet and all of these things that he was in this film. But I also feel like Kate Winslet, I think the only movie I've seen actually with her is Titanic. And maybe that's just it. Maybe Titanic is the only other movie that I've seen her in. But I thought her character was awesome, and I think she did a great job. I was really impressed with her, and I'm impressed with Jim Carrey.
Divergent, Titanic, Contagion are the three that I've seen her in.
I really liked the characters, and at least as far as the main two go. And I think the thing that I really enjoyed was the editing of the film and the way that they portrayed everything of him going through his memories and kind of, he was basically consciously going through these memories, and how they got that into a visual context was incredible. I thought, like, the way that the lights would slowly turn off or things would, and I don't know if you guys picked up or noticed it, but in a lot of those where they were walking through like the farmer's market and stuff, all of the people in the background didn't have faces. They were all blurred out. Like, everybody in those memories other than those two were always blurred out, as far as like every detail was clear other than their face. So there's just all those little things, which I think gets to the artsy fact of it. But I think that the way, there's a couple things. The way it was shot and the way it was filmed and the way that we see it, I was very impressed by. And then I think the other thing that I was really impressed by was the script, or almost the storyline, the way that it all played out and the way that they went through it step by step and everything. Because I think and it felt very Black Mirror-esque, as far, especially for 2004. Like, Black Mirror came across like in 2012 or something like that, 2010.
Yeah.
It felt very Black Mirror-esque, and I was curious to see how they were going to do the mind wipe thing, but they seemed to everything that they explained it, I was just like, okay, this is pretty cool. They're actually going through the steps of mapping and like making him grab all of his.
It's not unbelievable enough for you to sit there and question it. It doesn't distract from the story, which is what's important with these kind of sci-fi movies.
Yeah, and like everything with Mark Ruffalo and how they have to do it for an entire night and like monitor him and like make sure like they map his brain and like the progression of all of his memories they're able to track and then slowly like take them apart. So I thought that everything about that was really well done. So I think huge shout out to the script and the writing and the way the film was made. I guess, overall, everything I liked about it, film wise. I think the thing that I'm still thinking about is the meaning and kind of what I think about the film.
Well, I want to touch on the editing. I had to, while you were saying that, I had to try and think about the movie where I saw it was artsy and I didn't like, and where I saw the editing and loved, because the way they edited the film to reflect what it's like to be in a dream state was awesome. Like, for sure. That was very well done.
Like, all the ways where he was getting out of his car and trying to chase her down, and then like everything would swap and he was like on the other side again, and then he'd turn around and she was walking constantly away from him.
I think that's when the head hurdy line came in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
it probably came in several times.
I think it was the first 20 or 30 minutes that I didn't like the way it was filmed, but everything after that I liked. So I'm probably going to keep thinking on that, where I didn't like the artsy side. But anywho.
Yeah, let's hop into kind of the meaning of this movie. We kind of teased it earlier. What I took away from this movie is that if you have something that is, I'm not going to say true love, because this isn't a fairy tale, but if you have like feelings for another person, then, and you probably think you know how it's going to turn out, it's still worth fighting for, because you never know what's going to happen.
Explain that, go on that a little more.
And so what I mean by that is, what's the reason for them continuing?
You mean
their
at the
relationship
very end, when they both
end?
know that they both got each other, like the mind wiped of each other.
They think they know how it's going to turn out because they have already lived it, right?
Because they apparently have lived it, and they're just hearing their own thoughts on each other. But in the end, they're still willing to figure it out.
Yep. So they're still willing to figure this out. They're willing to give it another go. And I think it's a good, the movie's a good metaphor for just love isn't easy. It was never supposed to be easy. It's never been easy for anybody. And it's taken in this sci-fi lens, And that's kind of like, that's the lens that they use to paint this picture in order for it to
really sink in.
Yeah, because like if this movie didn't have any sci-fi elements to it, it would have been they break up, they get back together, they learn from their mistakes, and they try again.
Yep. And I think that the sci-fi portion of it was a really good way for them to convey their idea of what love is and what love takes, and all of these and everything behind the idea of and the feeling of love, because it's, I mean, if you've ever been, like, I guess for any feelings that people ever have about somebody, like really hard feelings about somebody, and then that doesn't end up working out, there is that initial kind of like, wow, I wish none of that ever happened. I wish I never felt these feelings, like all of those things that he kind of goes through, that both of them go through. And like that initial, I would love to be able to wipe this. Clearly in the end, they both, after they both find out that they did do this and they did like have things that they disliked about each other, and then they still went on to pursue it, and they just said, okay. That was like the last sentence, I think, of the movie, is when he just said, can we just still do this? And she was like, okay. Yeah, so I completely agree that I think that it was a really good way for them to portray the idea of love. And I think the one thing that you hit on that I want to touch on is the last scene where they were kind of listening to each other talk about each other, and the things that they didn't like. To me, that almost seemed like, in the real life context, the idea of open communication and talking things out is the only way to move past it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that, my memory could be failing me here, but I believe, and hang with me here, but in Marriage Story, there's a very similar theme in there where, and I think this is used in a lot of like actual like couples therapies type of deal, where the patients, like the two people in the couple, like write letters what they dislike about their partner and what they think are the main issues, and then they read them to each other.
So that's this exact idea, basically. It's this exact idea without them knowing that they did it.
Yep.
Yeah, I like at the end when they were both listening to it and they both hear them talking all, and then they were like, well, why should we even try this? You just said all of these things about me that we were bound to repeat history. Should we even still go for it?
So I'm confused. I thought they agreed not to continue the relationship at the end.
And you're saying
and that's why we replayed.
And you are saying that we are the ones that didn't understand this movie. You goofball.
Oh my God, that's the weirdest fucking thing. Right as I started to say, and that's the reason why I rewatched the last 2 minutes of the movie, it was just deja vu for me, which is really fucking weird. But that's the reason why I rewatched those last 5 minutes or 2 minutes, that last interaction between those two. I wanted to rewatch it to make sure that I had it right. But when he stops her in the hallway and he says, wait.
Wait.
What?
I don't know.
What
Just
do you
wait.
want, Joel?
Just wait. I don't know. I want you to wait for just a while.
And she was like, and she kind of sits there and she doesn't leave, but she doesn't say anything. And he says, just hold on. Almost kind of like, I need to process this. I need to think about this. I don't know what's happening, but I don't want you to go. Just stay, hold on for a minute.
Okay.
Let's think this through.
Really?
I'm not a concept, Joel. I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind. I'm not perfect.
I can't see anything that I don't like about you.
But you
right
will.
Now, I can't.
But you will. You know, you will think of things. And I'll get bored with you and feel trapped because that's what happens with me.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And she says a line in there as well that she also said in their previous relationship that was erased. That the conversation that happened at the library when she's like, when she was asking him, like, so you have a girlfriend, a wife? Like, what's the deal when, like, because he approached her at the library in their first relationship. And she said something, I can't remember the exact line, but it's something along the lines of.
Yeah, the same line that she repeated. Yeah, she was saying, I'm a fucked up girl and I don't want you to expect me to be a part of your life. I'm just trying to figure out my own.
Well, no, it wasn't that. She wasn't saying that she doesn't want to be a part of his life, or she wasn't saying that you shouldn't want me to be part of your life. She was saying that you shouldn't go into this relationship expecting me to change to the will that you want.
Yeah, I'm not a concept. She says that.
When she said that, something about, I remember her saying that she has her own stuff to figure out and she can't take on anybody else's stuff to figure out too. And I don't know if that's the same thing you're talking about, but
yeah, that's how she finished the sentence. Yeah, so I don't think I remember them saying okay and okay, but I don't think they were
getting back together. No, they absolutely were, because that last scene was them together.
Well, and it might be, this is my interpretation. It might be one of my favorite kind of endings.
No, so I think what happened, the meaning I'm interpreting from it was that conversation, they both acknowledged how the relationship ends based on who they are. And that's how it had ended before they wiped their memories. And I think that the whole, going back to the poem, which I'm sure you're going to want to get into at some point, is this ignorance is bliss question of they know how the relationship is going to end, and they did the means to the end for the relationship. They actually experienced the relationship, the ups and downs, and then they got to the torrential end that made them make dumb decisions. And I think it's that conversation at the end of the movie is them acknowledging, oh, if we started a relationship again, it would end the same way. And they're accepting that they're okay. I think they said okay and okay, accepting I know where this relationship is going and I don't want to go through the means to the end.
Oh, see,
yeah, I think
this must be like a two completely different worldviews, because I didn't take it that way, and two, I don't want to take it that way. I think if you take it that way, it's almost like you just have this hopeless view of life. Not saying necessarily you do 100%, but it's a very pessimistic.
Damn, Jacob.
I'm just so surprised that you guys, I thought we were all in agreement that that's the way the movie ended. I'm so surprised that you guys thought they were getting together, because that's the whole point of the quote in the movie. They don't get together at the end of the movie. Okay, so I think that there's two things that we can talk about, which is the point of the movie, or like the ending, and then the idea of the quotes that this movie is kind of based on. Well, and not even, I wouldn't say based on, but just the quotes that they
takes
mentioned.
its inspiration from. Yeah, in a way.
And some of the more key. I mean, like the title itself, like the meaning of the title, and but I think that the ending and the meaning of the title are two different discussions that I would think we should get into. But I totally saw the ending as, but I think I didn't have that view. But I think that that's a perfectly acceptable ending. Like, I think that because that is, I mean, it's kind of like, in one way they're bound to repeat their history and their relationship would end.
But what if they don't?
But and even if they don't, like, what if that's just like an almost to a, I mean, when you blow it out into a bigger picture, it's almost like that almost is kind of what love is. It's just a constant cycle of this going through it and figuring it out and then saying, okay, do we want to keep trying this? And then you go, and then they are probably going to repeat history and like get in fights again and do all these things. And then maybe they wipe each other's memories again. And then maybe they find each other again. And then they say, oh, we've done this twice before. Do we want to keep trying? And then, so I just think that it's kind of like I think this entire film, and well, obviously it's it's all about love and the process of love, and two humans when they meet each other and find each other and really like each other, even if there's, and that's one of the things I wrote down is, because I was like, and this, I wrote this down going into that last scene, where it's kind of like the idea of you can really, really, really like someone. You could love someone and know that you're not perfectly like meant for each other, or like there's things, and you can like, in going into it, you're like, oh, this just isn't going to work out. And I know I like this person and I know that it's not going to work out, but that doesn't stop me from liking them. And that's just kind of like that unknown part of the deep down like connection with people that it's just hard to explain. But I think that's just kind of what this movie gets into, is that aspect of love that it's just a pure emotion and feeling that you can't give any reason to. So like they don't know why they're going to try it again. And that's kind of the way I saw it, is at the end, they both said, wow, we clearly got in a big fight. We clearly wiped each other from, which is like the most extreme thing you could do. He's like, we clearly wiped each other from our own memories. But in that moment that they know that, they're still like each other. And they say, well, I mean, even knowing that, do you want to still try it? Because I kind of do. And that's the way I interpreted that last scene. That's him saying, hold on. Like, I think if he was ready for things to be done, he would have because they said goodbye at the door. They said goodbye at the door, and then she walked out. And then I was like, wow, this is going to be the ending. This is going to be tough. Very hard to watch. But then he comes back and he says, wait, just hold on for a minute. Don't go yet. Just don't go. I'm not asking you to come back, but just don't go yet. And so that was kind of my...
And so what's your interpretation of the last scene then, of them running in the snow?
I just think that's just the way that... Because...
A memory?
So... I'm going to ignore that and I'm going to come back to it.
Ouch. I guess it's fair. I just kind of...
That just I was on a train and you derailed me for a second. So a huge part of this movie was the technology being available to wipe memory. And yes. I think the symbolism for that was, if you can, should you?
Yep.
And I think what that implies with the ending scene is, I mean, these are two people that think they had just met for the first time on a beach, on a train, and they're falling in love. And then they get blindsided finding out that they were in love at some point and they wiped each other from memory, just like Mary finds out that she was in love with her boss and got her memory wiped. I think, and just like Mary kind of wipes her hands clean, sends all the information back to the clients and leaves, they are in the same boat because they think they're in this new cycle, but really it's a repetition of what already happened. And they know how it's going to end. They know it's who they are and it's in their DNA, so it's likely to end the same way. And I think, coming back to what Jacob was saying, the point of that ending, of it being a repeated scene over and over again, is that if we're able to ignore or
if we're able to have this power to wipe our memory,
if we just have this sense of ignorance of the means and focus on the ends, we're likely, kind of like if we forget history, we're doomed to repeat it or whatever, like that quote. I think that that's the point of the movie, and I think that that's why they don't go back together, is because, I mean, they're these two people, they think they're in love. Holy shit, we were in love, and like, I think he was saying, wait, hold on, because he wanted a second to hold on to this new found love that he won't have, and he's letting her go in a sense.
Okay, so I get what you're saying there, but with the point you brought up with Kirsten Dunst's character, I think the point of that, to kind of support my claim, is that the reason she was so upset was because she did repeat her bad actions. And so she didn't want that to happen to everybody else again. But her situation and their situation is different because the boss is the one doing it to her. And like, I don't know, kind of what I got, not that it was like fully coerced for her to get mind wiped, but if it was up to her, she probably wouldn't have. Like,
I
if
think
it was
that
fully
was
up to
her decision.
No, well, I mean, so I think, because I remember him saying he was just like, you wanted this to happen.
Yeah,
and when she listened to the audio, so the way I interpreted that is that the way I saw it is that she initially did want it. And then at the last moment, though, she was like, I'm not sure about this. And he said, it's for the best.
Yes.
So she was probably the one that initially said, I don't want to remember this. Can you please do this to me?
Just like Jim Carrey did.
Just like Jim Carrey did. And then when it was about to happen, and it was kind of like that cold feet, And she was like, oh, I don't know about this. And then he was like, well, what's the best for me? And he said, the best for me is if you get your mind wiped.
I disagree with that.
Okay, but so let me bring this back to the Jim Carrey relationship. So she did not, with this happening, she didn't learn from her mistakes, right? And so she was like, well, now with this power out here, nobody else can also learn from their mistakes. When they make mistakes, people will just come here and they'll just forget them. And so I think what Carrey and Winslet are doing there at the end is it's not so much of, hey, we're going to completely learn from our mistakes and do everything completely different, but we are going to take this opportunity to completely forget each other out of the equation and see where it goes from there.
And I think that there's an aspect of, like you said, those are two completely different types of relationships. And going back to initially what we were talking about, when Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet could hear what the other person said about them before getting their mind wiped and their reasons, that almost lays the foundation for the next phase. So they hopefully, like if they actually listened to those and said, like kind of like when they were, and he was like, oh, I hate her hair. It's all bullshit that she changes it. And then when he's actually talking to her, he's just like, I don't think that. He's like, I actually really don't think that.
It's kind of lashing out.
Yeah. And so they're all, like, that's kind of like them both lashing out. Like you said about those letters, that actually is real couple therapy. Hopefully in this new future, like they're not going to fully repeat history. They probably will a little bit, but then hopefully they won't fully repeat history if they take those tapes and listen to them and like talk them through. And I think that's kind of like, I think at least that's what I take from it, is that that's the idea of figuring out relationships and love. Is like, it's not going to be perfect. You're always like, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be bumps in the road. And as long as you don't forget them, A, and B, talk about them, don't like sweep them under the rug, then that's the only way that you can move forward into a healthier and like
more productive
relationship and just grow together kind of thing.
See, I think that's weak optimism from both of you.
Weak optimism.
Wow.
I mean,
but let me finish.
Yes.
So I think it's weak optimism from both of you because they heard the things that they said about each other, and I don't think that lays a foundation for something that can build off of their conversation. I think it's them acknowledging, like, holy shit, we now know that we said these things about each other, and like they can't get it out of their heads, and they don't continue the relationship because they know. So I think this is going to start to get into the meaning of the quote,
perfect,
the poem, because the most important line of the poem for me, and I'll bring this back.
There was two.
The main one, the Eternal
Sunshine one, yeah.
The third one, just Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. How it is interpreted or how it was meant to be, and I can read this from just something I Googled quickly, but I think it says it right, is there is bliss in ignorance, but it is insipid. I looked up insipid, that means lack of taste.
Thank you.
It is like being in deep sleep. There are no worries, no fears, no anxiety, but then there is no fun, no joy being with someone. So I think that them continuing to go into the cycle is that eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, of them having this weak optimism of, we can enjoy this again. And they go through the same cycle and find that those anxieties and those faults that they see in each other are inevitable. And that I think the whole point is that they aren't meant to be together, and that they had to go through those whirlwinds in their relationship to get to the point that they were. But being ignorant to their experiences was far worse, because it puts them into a state of having a spotless mind, of being ignorant to what they learned.
Have we read this poem yet? This like little quote thing?
We haven't.
Okay. How happy is the blameless vestal's lot, the world forgetting by the world forgot, eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. each prayer accepted and each wish resigned. So I don't think the meaning of this is to be like, it's a good thing to be, like, to not know. I think it's saying, like, yeah, it might be easier, but you're just going to continue to make the same mistakes.
Sort of, but not really.
Which I guess I thought that's what you were saying, kind of.
No.
But then you skewed off.
No, because I guess my interpretation of it was, which I think it goes in with the other quote, the Nietzsche quote that they also said, "Blessed are the forgetful, for they get the better even of their blunders." And so I think and I think both quotes just kind of have to do with the idea of, I think along the lines of Jacob, where it's kind of like the idea that ignorance is bliss. And it's the idea that if we can wipe all of the fear and anxiety and worries, then it will be forever sunshine in our spotless mind. And that's kind of like the idea and the hope. And even I think with good intention, even like that going like to Dr. Howard's character, with good intention, you're like, I can rid you of these bad memories, and hopefully give you pure happiness, eternal sunshine. But clearly, well, and I think that's the kind of Black Mirror kind of message of this, where it's like, that's not as ideal as that sounds. That's not the way that it should be, and that's not the way that people are, and that's not the way that we should experience life. And so that's kind of my idea of the meaning of the poems and everything, was that I think it has to do a lot with the idea and the psychology of people wanting to get rid of all of the bad things that happen. I don't know if you noticed, like the kid or the guy that was sitting next to him before Jim Carrey got his brainwashed was an older guy, and he just had a trophy of a kid. And so it was clearly, I think it was hinting towards he had a son or he had a daughter that passed. And he was trying to almost wipe that memory away. And so I think the meaning of the film is, that's why I think I really like this film, because I think it has this whole love story, and there's a lot of things around love and relationships. And then there's also this idea of just the psychology of, if we had the opportunity to wipe our memory of bad things and we could have this eternal sunshine, would we do it? And would we be happy? And I think that these characters are finding out that maybe, and I think that's kind of like the whole last scene, is they were living their life not knowing about all of this stuff, but then once they did know that that they talked bad about each other, that they wiped each other's memory, that their last relationship ended badly, that almost lays, and I think that does lay the foundation for their new relationship. I'm kind of like talking as I'm going, so maybe I'm not making much sense.
I was with you until you and all.
So I guess they're
gonna be back together.
Let's start. Yeah, let's just start with the poem. So I think that it's just the idea that we can't get rid of all of these things and have this eternal sunshine of a spotless mind, because then we're not human.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're. Yeah.
So what was your interpretation of it?
No, that was my pretty much, it was pretty much the same. It was that when they had the memory erased, they were happy in eternal sunshine until they relived the parts that they erased. And I think the end, if we're going to get meta about it, well, obviously that's just crazy, because the ups and downs both make the means to the end, and the end is happiness. That's our goal. The end goal is happiness.
Or to limit the suffering.
Think, let's talk about how is to have a spotless mind a good thing, because I don't think it is.
No, and I think that's what we're
we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're kind of, I think we're all in agreement. It sounds like that. Yeah. That
I think the only part we're in disagreement of is the relationship between Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey.
Okay. So yeah, I thought earlier you were saying that you had the poem pinned as a different meaning.
No, I think we have it the exact same. Okay. It's that ignorance is bliss, yes, but at a cost.
Forced ignorance, like
'tis folly to be wise.
Yeah,
and
that's the rest of that quote, and there's a little bit more to the ignorance to be bliss one. And I think it kind of goes into it. I just read it. To each his sufferings, all are men, condemned alike to groan. The tender for another's pain, the unfeeling for his own. Yet, why should they know their fate, since sorrow never comes too late, and happiness too swiftly flies? Thought would destroy their paradise. No more where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise.
Yep. I think that. Yeah, well, I mean that entire thing. We'd need an English class to go through.
There was one line in there that I think perfectly applies to this. Was to know your fate. Sorrow is never late. What was that?
Yeah. Why should they know their fate? Since sorrow never comes too late.
Yeah. So I think they didn't know their fate in that second round, and then once they figured out their fate, all of the sorrow, all of the terrible things that they said about each other.
So I think this is where the split comes in, because I don't think they know their fate, because there's new information. No, but there's new information added to the table.
But they found out that they wiped each other's memory of each other.
But they found out why as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, they find out, and that's what I was talking about when you're saying the weak optimism is that new foundation that I was saying, is that they if they wouldn't have known, if she wouldn't have sent the tapes out to everybody to let them know that they wiped their memory and everything, like all their files and everying, then they wouldn't. There wouldn't have been. Then that would have been, you're doomed to repeat history. History is doomed to repeat itself. I think that the fact that she sent out those files and then sent out those tapes and that information, and they were able to get that information, and they said, "Wow, we've been through this. We've gone through this entire relationship. It ended poorly, and you and I now know how you think because you told somebody what you think about me." And so we can talk about that. That's where I'm kind of like, that's just the new foundation of why it will be different.
I'm not arguing that your guys' whole interpretation of it. I just don't think that is the way the conversation happened, because they didn't say, "Oh, now I know like what you are, and I can be better, and you can be better."
That's all implied, I guess. And
it is implied, and it's the optimistic side. And because what happened, the conversation, or at least what Kate Winslet said, was, "I am this way. If I am with you too long, I will feel trapped and I will need to get out. You are this way. You blah, blah, blah. You get tired of all my impulsiveness and you get tired or you get sick of me." And then they just say, "Okay."
Yeah.
Like it's not an acknowledgement of, "Oh, now that I know about myself and about you, we can make this better." It's an acknowledgement of, "Okay, this may not work out, but that's for the best."
I love that we are talking about this because I didn't even consider that was an alternative ending to this. And I love that you bring that up because I never would have ever thought that there was and maybe it's the optimist in me or the fact that I love a good true love story or whatever, that I thought that I saw it going the way that I did of like, oh, now they can take this new information and now they can rebuild and like grow and possibly they do it again. But I like in my mind, in my continuation of this movie, they do figure out a way they are like in love with each other and they do figure it out. But it's just always a constant battle and it's always constantly figuring it out and pushing forward and pushing through the hard times. But I do love that because I think and I understand what you're saying, that there is this completely other outcome that they do just repeat history and they just do it because they kind of like what I was saying earlier is they really like each other, but they know they're not meant for each other, but they really like each other. So they're going to continue to go for it, but it's going to end the same way. And then when it happens, like maybe if they wipe each other's minds again and then it happens again and it's just this constant cycle, they're going to always decide to continue it, even though it will end horribly, because that's just the way that
they have the opportunity of the eternal sunshine.
Yes.
But they no longer have that opportunity.
Now that they have that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do see what you're saying is that there's this outcome of they never end up like together or whatever in the sense of together. And they always fall back into this cycle of who they are and they end up fighting and breaking up and all these things. I can see that perspective now. I don't think I would have though.
Yeah, no, I completely understand where you're coming from as well.
Should we move on?
Bumped this movie up for me, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I didn't even
me too as
like because I totally just saw this as, oh wow, it's a happy ending.
See, at first I was like, oh, they shouldn't be together, but I didn't like how it ended with her just leaving. And then when he said wait, I was like, oh man, they better not get back together. And then when they had that conversation, I was like, oh, that's like the little Salt Bay salt on the little steak, and they just sliced up there for us.
And that's hilarious because I'm like, man, I really hope that they like get back together and like give this another shot. And then I was like, oh, yay, there's the Salt Bay salt.
Yeah. So everybody got their salt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one cool thing that I thought, I don't know if you picked up on this, and I don't know how cool or applicable it is, but the tracing of the memories went from most present to past, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did think that was cool. I mean, it makes sense that that's the way that you have to map it.
Yeah.
Everything, I think, yeah, I mean, even the technical side of this, they didn't get fully into how they actually delete the memories, but I mean, they do enough to where you can accept it and focus on the other parts of the movie that are actually the important parts. But
I like doing the doctor's analogy of how they delete memories. That's one of my favorite activities. A heavy night of drinking.
Oh.
Yeah,
he's like, well, this hurt me. This damaged my
like,
brain. He's like, well, this is kind of brain damage. So
I was like, wait.
I was like, yeah.
What do you mean?
Oh,
brain
Jim
damage?
Carrey. We have other ways.
Yeah.
And I guess last thing that I want to talk about is I really actually did enjoy the side characters, the Mark Ruffalo, which also stacked cast.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2004, I don't know how big what's-her-face Kirsten Dunst was.
Oh, big.
I mean, yeah, because that was about Spider-Man, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's like kind of the prime of her career because, I mean, she's been in some stuff recently, but like Spider-Man was 2002.
Oh, okay. So it was kind of right around that
Interview
time.
with a Vampire was 94, so.
And Lord of the Rings was around that time for Elijah Wood too, right?
Yep.
So this cast kind of had some people in their peaks.
I don't know if Mark Ruffalo was big at that time.
He looked pretty young.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely in movies before that, but one, it's nothing I've seen. There's a couple movies that I recognize, but yeah, I think this is a pretty darn early role for Mark Ruffalo. I think he was kind of a late bloomer in Hollywood, if you will.
Because Jim Carrey had to be, like he was big in like the 90s, mid late like 90s, where his kind of So they got and Titanic was like mid 90s, early 90s even. Yep. And so Kate Winslet had already been definitely on the scene. They had a pretty good cast for this. And well, even I recognized the doctor.
He's in a lot of things. He's always a side character though, but
he was in a horror movie. He was somebody in a horror movie.
There's a Grand Budapest Hotel.
I have seen that, but it's been a while. I recognized his face when he smiled at the end. I was like, oh wow, I've seen that face in a horror film, I think.
Yeah, I recognize his voice more than his face.
No, I know where I know him from. He's in the John Adams miniseries from HBO. He's Ben Franklin.
And also, your boy Tobias was in it. Love Tobias. That was pre-peak for him because he peaked in Arrested Development.
I don't think that was pre-peak for him.
What?
Who are we talking about?
Have you ever seen Arrested Development?
Yes, but
Tobias.
Tobias is the
glasses bald.
Tobias is the never nude.
No, I know who Tobias is. Who is he in this movie?
It was. I mean, they only showed a couple of scenes with him, but
he was Jim Carrey's brother-in-law.
Remember, he's the one that gives him the letter that says.
Oh God, I didn't even know that was him.
I see. Yeah, the entire film, I was like, Tobias.
Damn, that's crazy. That is, wow.
Yeah,
that's bizarre.
He's the one who hands him the letter and is like, "Yo, this is what happened. You just got mind washed from this girl."
Wait, what?
Remember when they're in that, and like when Jim Carrey initially was like, she doesn't even know who I am, like, or she's seeing this other younger guy, and he's talking to like his whoever that other couple was, like his sister or someone. Tobias was that guy, and he was like, and she was like, "We're not supposed to tell him," and he was like, "You know what? Fuck it. Here's this letter. She removed you from her memory." Anywho, I think that's pre-peak.
I mean, Arrested Development was 2003. This is 2004, so
he was right in his peak, baby.
I don't trust Elijah Wood anymore.
Yeah, Elijah Wood is
actually
a creepy
all
dude.
three of them. That was kind of fucked.
Yeah,
they're just getting
very
drunk
fucked.
and having sex, and he's like getting his mind washed.
Yeah, they didn't even, and he was just like laying, and they're just smoking a fat doobie, and like the computer makes a noise. He goes, "Oh yeah," and then he just hits a button, and then and the entire time Jim Carrey's listening to them.
Yeah, he can hear them. Like that was
surprise, surprise. People that erase other people's memories are a little bit morally questionable.
Yeah. Wow, that perfectly sums it up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Elijah Wood was a fucking weird guy. Don't trust him. Don't like him.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Elijah.
Well,
just don't steal girls' underwear.
Yeah, and don't be such a bitch. All you have to do is take the ring to Mordor.
And even then he was being a bitch.
He even did that, and he didn't even do it.
Sam needed to carry him.
I may not be able to carry the ring, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you!
I also did see that this did win a couple awards.
Yeah, it won Kate Winslet won the Oscar for Best Actress, and Best Picture was nominated at the Golden Globe.
Didn't it win, or at least nominated for writing and original screenplay?
I don't have that information. I will in 2 seconds. Yes, it was nominated for Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role. I'm so confused. What is happening? Okay, this other site that I was looking at had it wrong.
What?
Okay, let me try this again. It won Best Writing for an Original Screenplay.
That's what I remember.
Kate Winslet was nominated for Best Actress in a Leading Role. And
I think it won Best Original Screenplay.
I just said that.
Well, and I think it won Best Original Screenplay.
Man, you two are...
Mind hurty.
Ugh, brain hurty.
Were your minds washed?
I need to get some sleep.
And it was nominated for 4 Golden Globe Awards. And I'm not going to tell you which ones they were. You go look it up yourself because I'll probably fumble it.
Was it the original screenplay? All right, that joke's overused. All right, let's get into some scores.
So, aggregators, Rotten Tomato 93%, IMDb 8.3 out of 10, and Metacritic 89 out of 100. Pretty high scores there.
I can go first. I give it's an 8.7. It's wow. It was very well done. Jim Carrey was impressive. Kate Winslet, first movie I've seen her in, and she was very impressive. Everyone was impressive. Writing was impressive. The deep meanings were impressive. The ending was impressive. How many times can I say impressive?
All right, my score. I before kind of talking all this through and giving that kind of other view on the ending, this probably would have been like an 84 or 85 for me. I am actually bumping it up all the way to a 93.
Wow.
Yeah, this I don't know, it talking through it and kind of getting into all those quotes and trying to feel like an intellectual made my mind feel good and broken. Tate, your movie, your score.
I'm in the same boat as you because I think initially I was going to come out of this thinking high 8s, close to. I was like, yeah, probably could reach a 9. And again, I think it was the interpretation of the ending that is going to bump it up for me. But I think that it paints a really realistic picture of love and relationships that some of those other rom-coms and just true roms don't really, like, they almost paint the image of love that isn't realistic. And so I kind of like that these characters were both broken in their own ways, and that they figured everything out. Yeah, I don't know. I loved everything about it. And so I think it got bumped up actually to a 95 for me. This is actually making it into my top 10 probably as far as favorite films. So I really enjoy, and I mean, it is up my alley. As an artsy film, but I loved it.
Well, I'll tell you what, that I'm not sure where it ranks among the other movies that we've done, but it's got to be up there. It's probably in the top 3 for average rating.
It might be the highest. Yeah, if not tied.
It is a 91.66666667.
This would be one of those movies where I'm surprised we didn't analyze it in like English class in high school, because this totally seems like the type of movie. I mean, it has poems, it has
100%.
Psychological characters, and
I did think it was funny that Kirsten Dunst said that Nietzsche quote, like, and it ended up being her befundlements.
Yeah,
cut.
All right, folks, that is going to do it for today. If you have thoughts or questions, you can shoot us an email at gd4ampodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can reach out to us on Instagram at gd4gd.movies. We're also on Twitter at GD4GD_movies. We would love for you to leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen on, especially Apple Podcasts. Just make sure they're all 5 stars.
If you don't, we're going to wipe your memory.
That's right. We will catch you next week at the movies.
When you come to the end of the line with a buddy who is more than a brother and a little less than a wife, getting blind drunk together is really the only way to say farewell.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
That goes down in podcast history.